Okay, well, welcome everyone. We are ready to call this meeting to order. Do we have a roll call? Let me start with Trustee Schutz. Here. And Trustee Coleman.
Here.
Hall, here. Franz.
Here.
Pete, Constant. Sorry. I blinked on your last name for a minute.
It's okay, I've been forgotten by many.
Aw. All right, we need a motion to adopt or amend.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
We actually need
Oh.
to pull, we are
Okay.
going to make, I'll make a motion to amend. We're going to pull 7.9 from consent. Yep, per Joe, Landon, they need to update and look at costs again. So,
But I'll
So
ma-
when you say pull, you don't mean pull to discuss, you mean drop it? Or we're-
remove it.
Okay.
Yep, remove it. Yes, thank you for clarifying.
I will make a motion to, with, yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so motion is adopted minus item 7.9. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Seeing none. All right, we will adjourn to closed session. Easy breezy. Our roll call is a little bit funky tonight. Trustee Schutz is missing at the moment, but he will be coming in late. And Trustee Constant will be having to leave early. So that you'll see some changing of the guard up here. But for our roll call for now, Trustee Coleman,
Present.
Trustee Hall is here, and Trustee Franz.
Here.
And Trustee Constant. And our student board member Peyton.
I'm here.
All right, very good. With that, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead and rise. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we do have a quick report out from closed session. Item 2.1, no action taken. Item 2.2, we passed a resolution to release a temporary certificated employee. That was a 5-0 vote. Item 2.3, we took action to extend a classified employee's leave. And then 2.4, we approved a stipulated expulsion agreement on case 092426 and 102526. Next up, I am going to just quickly announce our meeting protocols for anyone who's new tonight. The Board of Trustees encourages public participation during the meeting and requests civility in the use of courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or any other appropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and/or district employee. There will be an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on any items not on the agenda during the public comment section, as well as opportunities to speak to each item on the agenda as that item comes up for consideration. In the interest of facilitating the conduct of the public's business, members of the public who wish to address the board will have specific time limits as follows. If there are less than 10 people wishing to comment, you will have 3 minutes. If we have 10 or more members of the public wishing to comment, you will have 90 seconds. Any complaints about specific employees should be directed to the employee's immediate supervisor or the school site principal as outlined in our board policies and administrative regulation. Please complete the comment form located on the table in the lobby, and we will call on you when it is your turn to speak. This meeting is being video recorded and will be archived. This meeting will be live streamed for viewing only, and the link to the live stream can be found at rjuhsd.us/livestream. All right, so we are going in a little bit of a different order tonight, and that is because Trustee Constant does have to leave for a red-eye flight. So we are going to start tonight with our information presentation and discussion, which we would tend to do these things last. So a little bit of a different order. But for our attendance boundary discussion, item 4.1, we will have a presentation from Joe Landon. Take it away, Joe.
All righty. So give it a second for the presentation to come on up. There it is. So here we are, April 14th, and I left some nice placemats for the board, as well as there's some copies up there of the maps that I'm going to be talking about today. But to start, here's the current attendance boundary map as it exists today, that we're looking to address some of the issues that we foresee in the next couple years. But just wanted to start off with, that's where we're at today. And then with the current demographic projections based on all of the numbers from our demographer, you see the enrollment projections, and the enrollment projections from the demographer factor in just the resident students. So we do a further analysis that takes into account existing transfer trends. And when we do that, you can see I updated this chart a little bit to add some even more colors. Really wanted to put in a green color, which is kind of like, I like to call it the sweet spot, or where that number is at or near the target for that school. kind of close, but that way we feel like we're fully utilizing that campus. I think it'd be unrealistic for us always, every single school to be at green, but I think having a lot of schools at green or near green would be a good target. I also changed and added a gray, which before that showed schools such as Granite Bay in red. And really what gray means is that we are above the target, but we believe that it can be addressed by dealing with transfers. For instance, at Granite Bay High School, we have a lot of transfers that come into that site. And if we get to a capacity, we can close transfers in, interdistrict transfers, and essentially we would lower that number and make sure we're not above capacity. So gray is essentially meaning we believe we can address it through transfer process. Other sites, such as West Park, doesn't receive transfers into West Park. So any number they are above capacity, I put in orange and red because we can't really address that by closing West Park. It is already closed. And so similar to Roseville, some of those other sites. And so when you look at that boxed area, that's kind of the area we're looking to address. That shows particularly Roseville and West Park at an area that's at the red, and we're trying to address that with some of the attendance boundaries. Now, so some of the objectives we wanted to write down, and based on the feedback from the board, our discussions in cabinet, is we really want to balance the growth out in Northwest to match the school capacities. We want to ensure all schools are able to maintain robust programs and utilize their school capacity, so we don't have schools that are unable to offer full programs because their enrollment isn't high enough. And we also want to reduce school travel times. Our current boundaries, especially as houses get built out in the Northwest, is going to cause a lot of transportation, whether that's our school buses or additional families out on the road. We would like to address that by having less time for families in cars or buses trying to get to school. And to achieve those objectives, we want to our goal is to achieve these objectives while impacting the smallest number of families. And so that was kind of based on the conversations with the board at the last meeting, what we thought we could write out that we believe encompasses kind of what we're trying to do with these attendance boundary discussions. So with that, we have created a new attached proposed scenario. And actually, those 3 pages in front of you, the first page is current boundaries. The second page was the boundaries we proposed to the board on March 16th. And then if you go to the very last page, that's the boundaries that we've since adjusted from March 16th to now here today, April 14th. Kind of our new proposal that we wanted to work through with the board. It's pretty similar to our proposal last time, but what we did do is change a little bit of the area between Wood Creek and Roseville, that after further analysis as well as discussion with the board, we don't think it's smart of moving some of the area from Wood Creek to Roseville. We really felt was part of the Wood Creek community, and so that's on that south end of the Wood Creek attendance boundary. And so with this new proposal, we put that back to Wood Creek, and then we essentially have kept a lot of it the same as our last proposal. But I want to update you on what the proposed boundary looks like for demographics. This is the resident numbers, which when you look at the far right side, we actually feel like those numbers are pretty good. Antelope and Granite Bay get a lot of transfers in, and so their numbers would actually be quite a bit higher. But when you look at Oakmont, Roseville, Wood Creek, those numbers look really good based on the school capacities. And West Park, as we've talked about, is kind of getting right up to their capacity, but we feel that that's a number that we can sustain, and then we feel like we're going to kind of reach that cap, and that over time that number is going to go down based on the being more fully built out in that area. So further, when we go to our enrollment projections based on our current transfer trend, this is what it looks like, and we're able to remove the red. We have a little bit more gray, especially in Wood Creek, and that's going to lead to another slide in just a minute, but we still believe that that gray area can be addressed by not only keeping that school closed to transfers, but also both Wood Creek and Granite Bay have the capacity to add maybe a few additional portables if we get into that area where we need a little bit more space for students. So we believe a combination of those two can address those numbers. But what we're also seeing, because we've closed Wood Creek a few years ago, that we're already starting to see a decline in the number of transfers into Wood Creek. And we did an estimate based on kind of our current trends of where we think that number is going to land based on a modified Wood Creek transfer trend. For example, when you look at 26-27, our prior estimate for Wood Creek was 1998. Based on current patterns and what we're seeing, we think it's probably going to be 19 to 40 or perhaps less. So that's not a lot, but that's about 50 or 60 less kids. And when we look at 27, 28 and 28, 29, and we look at the number of kids that are freshmen, sophomores coming in, we believe the numbers are going to be closer to the numbers presented in this last slide, which makes it much easier to address. And you look at the numbers even going out to 23, 24, Wood Creek does kind of get into that green sweet spot that Joe likes, where you're going to see we're at or near capacity. So we still have those areas from 2930 to 3233 where Wood Creek and potentially Granite Bay are both in that gray area. We feel pretty comfortable that we can address those with closing of the sites, as well as, particularly at Wood Creek, maybe a few portables that helps bridge that gap for a couple years. So before we jump into questions, I wanted to also throw in a starting point. We talked a little bit about what grandfathering could look like. And so just wanted to start getting the board thinking about that as well, as whenever we decide what we're going to approve, next step will be figuring out how do we grandfather this in. And what we targeted was something similar to when we opened West Park, is we really feel like community does best with a transition. So it's not something that one year all of a sudden it all changes, but we would allow for the first for that first year, kids who would be incoming would kind of have the choice of remaining at their school site, but would also have the opportunity to go to their new school as well. Incoming freshmen will be able to remain if a sibling currently attends the school. Incoming students would need to attend their home school or go through the transfer process. And so West Park and Wood Creek would likely remain closed during that process. And then we have school busing would continue to be provided. So for instance, if you were a student who was initially going to Roseville, but now you're going to Wood Creek, but you want to keep going to Roseville, we would keep providing transportation for you. But we want to eventually phase that out, because one of the things we need to do is make sure we're not providing buses to all over the district. And so this is just a starting place. I think once, and if we can get to something that the board approves, we would then at a future meeting come up with a strategy. We'd work with Mr. Fan to kind of communicate it out to the families and make sure everybody knows we have a transfer window. So here, this is a proposed timeline where if the board were able to approve something in the next month, we would want that to begin in 27-28. We'd want to communicate that to all the families in the fall. We have our transfer window open so families could still go through that process. And then we'd close that in February, and that's what we're looking for as far as a potential timeline. So with that, I wanted to continue to highlight some of the direction we're looking for the board, is seeking board direction on the boundaries. We also had started talking about program specialization, what that looks like at each site, as well as making decisions on grandfathering and transfer policies, phase-in, or some of the other things that we need to look at. So with that, I wanted to open it up for questions, comments from the board.
All right, thank you, Joe. This is very helpful. Any questions right off from any of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Several.
Well, let's just start with comments. Pete, since you have to leave early, we'll go this way tonight. Okay.
Well, thank you. Joe, can you put the proposed attendance chart up versus the boundaries? Yep, that one. That one. First, I appreciate the changes. I like having more colors. It makes it a little bit easier to interpret. I want to talk particularly about the gray areas and, not gray areas, the cells that are shaded gray. And but I think it also applies to the others. And I know you and I had a brief conversation on the phone about this as it relates to transfer policies. As we move to something like this where there is these sort of bubble times of gray, I would be really interested in how we are going to structure our transfer policies, opening and closing, and creating something that can be as objective as possible and sort of predetermined. Now, I haven't thought this through all the way, so I'll just kind of reiterate what the conversation we had on the phone. I would love to see it that if we hit the identified status, which I'm going to right now just call gray, if we hit the status of gray, then we take X percent of a reduction in our transfers. Or maybe if we're getting to yellow, maybe that we're going to take these actions. If we get to gray, we're going to take these actions. If we get to orange, then this is our actions. If we get to red, these are our clear actions, so that we have very clear criteria, primarily for Mel and for ease of understanding and interpreting the applications that come in, but I think even more so for our parents, where it's less about, why are you doing this to my kid? And we've all heard and seen the emails. It's hard when it's your child that's being impacted by these policies, and sometimes it can seem arbitrary, it can seem personal, it can seem unfair. So I think the more work that we can do ahead of time, that everyone can rely on, and really that parents can easily understand. We are taking these actions because these triggers have been met. We are opening these schools because these triggers have eased. And I hope that would make Mel's job a little bit easier. And I think it would, it might not make every parent happy, but sometimes just understanding why, I think, is a big key. Especially, we've all had those discussions and emails and phone calls and the things when it relates to kids. So I don't expect an answer today, but if we move forward, that's something I would like to have very clear and structured and addressable. I appreciate the fact that we are able to get to a point where we are optimizing our schools, as I think the term you used it in the green cells, without making drastic changes, although I remain committed that if we have to make drastic changes, I'm willing to do that in order to make sure that each of our school sites are serving students with the optimum number of the optimum amount of impact we can have on their learning. Because we know that when schools get too big, it negatively impacts not only the work environment for our staff, but the learning and engagement of our students. And we've also seen what happens when it goes the other direction, and we don't have enough students at a school, so we can't offer all the programs, we can't have all the electives. We end up having master schedules where students have to choose between two wants because there's not enough availability for them to do everything. So I appreciate that. I'm very optimistic that the proposal that you have made, that if it is married with a good transfer policy that's clear and objective, and that we continue to work on our unique offerings at the schools and making sure that those that have large constituencies, we offer in multiple places, those that don't, we don't, and that we use those as a way to also optimize the use of our facilities. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Trustee Franz.
So I will approach my comment just a little differently. So I, since our last workshop, I actually went and I drew our feeder middle school boundaries on our map, because we keep talking about it, and I just did not know where they were. So, and I wish I could just show you, everybody, what I did, because I'm going to talk about it. Because I have always been concerned about just keeping the community together, the friend groups, and so I am pleasantly surprised and happy to report that Antelope Crossing, all of Antelope Crossing goes to Antelope High School. With the new changes, all of Creekview Ranch will go to Oakmont. All of Chilton will go to West Park. All of Buljon will go to Roseville, with the exception of a little triangle, which has 0 kids because it's Denios. So I'm going to just say all. All of Ike will go to Oakmont, with the exception, now there's a small sliver, which I spoke with Joe about, that has about 35 to 45 students, but it's on the other side of 80. And while we could certainly talk about trying to keep all of the schools together, I think it also makes sense to keep them at Roseville. But this is how I approached it. Cooley is split up 3 ways, and there's nothing we can do about it. So then I just hope that at least a third of everyone's friends are going to the school that you're going to. The only one that I noticed that maybe we can have a discussion about is Silverado. There is one small little corner that has now been drawn into, I'll show you. So this is the Silverado. There's now one small corner that is now going to Roseville, with everyone else going to Wood Creek. And, oh, maybe you can, so it's, well, do you have a little pointer?
It's the corner of
Yes,
Foothills and
it's
Pleasant Grove.
Right there, right
Yeah.
there. So the border of Silverado is right above it, straight across, horizontal line. And our discussion, Joe had it at about 55 to 65 students. That's something I think we should talk about. And then, you know, I'm just laying out information. And then obviously, then Olympus and Cabot, all of those feed into Granite Bay. So really, we have, most of our middle schools are feeding it, all of our middle schools are feeding into the same schools. So I feel really good about that. And I can get, I've been concerned, and I know there's just other things about expectation when you buy a home, but this makes me feel better now that I know where the lines are. So, end of comment. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, and actually, and I wanted to ask, can we ask Peyton, just from a student perspective, what you think about when you want to go to high school, or whether you want programs or distance or?
Yeah, so speaking from personal experience, I had gone to Oakmont my entire freshman year, and then I transferred to Granite Bay for personal reasons that had nothing to do with the school itself. And the reason that I ended up coming back very quickly after was because I lacked the community of my friends from my childhood. I didn't know anyone. So speaking from a student perspective, I would say that what Trustee Franz is saying is really important, because that community going into high school, which is a very transitional period, I think is really important. And yes, obviously as a freshman you can't drive, so distance definitely plays a factor into that. But with these district lines being drawn, I feel like that distance is kind of an area that is covered, just with where they go to middle school, where they live, that then feeds into a nearby high school. But I would say definitely the community is a really important part of a student's choice of which school they would like to go to, which is obviously affected by programs and things like that. But I would say that that's a very large contributing factor to that as well.
And I didn't pay her to say that.
All right, thank you. And Tiffany?
Okay, so Marla, thank you so much. Those were similar to, as I looked at the maps, I agree with my fellow trustees that I'm very optimistic. I'm really excited about where we're at. And first of all, just wanted to thank you so much for, there's been a tremendous amount of work that has gone into this. It's been going for months and months, and you've put a lot of thought and effort into it. And I really appreciate that we have the limited disruption, that we're reducing travel for families, we're utilizing our campus sites, and really hearkening back to our board expectations as far as bringing in community that way and being transparent with the community and offering good programming for our students. I also, that one little community is called Mistywood, and it's one that I just have been closely connected with in the time that I've lived here in Roseville. So I also spoke with Joe and John about this, and that they are community-wise very connected to the neighborhoods to the west of them, and would also propose that we keep that Mistywood community in the Wood Creek boundaries so that they can remain, so that little pocket of Silverado families doesn't get, this one right here, doesn't get just pulled out. And I felt like that would be an option in talking with Joe. And then a couple things, I wanted to hear what feedback you've received from the principals as you've presented this to, there's 4 sites that will be affected. What are their concerns? What are the things that they're really excited about it? What have you heard from them on that?
Yes, I think for the vast majority, it's been pretty positive. I know, particularly though at Roseville High School, I've had some initial conversations with Principal Sarin. I think that's the one site that has a little bit of concerns with some of the changes, just making sure that Roseville has enough students. I think they're giving up some students in the short term, but when you look up north to some of Placer 1, that we believe over the long term, it's gonna position them really well. So that's something we're gonna continue to work with Ashley on it, but I think by and large, Wood Creek and the other sites really appreciate the efforts that have been made, and I think it's going to be an improvement in the long-term stability of the district.
Thank you. And with the changes and bringing more into Wood Creek, and you talked about this, but their portable situation and just making sure that we're going to need to make sure that they're got the great classroom space that they need and well cared for there, and I know that'll be.
Yeah, that's a priority. I know with some of our portables, and those are getting up there in age, and so we'll have to make sure the carpet's fresh and things like that. We'd likely be looking at, in a few years, some new portables at Wood Creek, and I know that is something somewhere near to just, in the future that we'll be looking to address. As we've been doing at all our sites, we had the priority of Roseville and their project that's already getting near completion. Oakmont's going to be starting here soon, so we'll continue to be focusing on those areas to make sure that all the classrooms are up to date and great for students.
Perfect. And one other note that I had is between our meeting tonight and if we are potentially looking to solidify this in May or June, just want to make sure that we get out to our RJUHSD community. Hey, we're having this discussion. This is real. And this isn't just theoretical. It's getting real, so that if there's any community input, that they don't feel that they got left behind.
Yep, we've had conversations with Mr. Fan, and we'll be, especially after tonight, getting a good feel of where the board is and their feelings on this. If we feel ready that we're pretty darn close, we're going to really send it out to the community and make sure they have an opportunity to weigh in if they have any concerns. But he's got some strategies and plans ready to go. So
great. Well, thank you again. I'm very, very happy and looking forward to it. The options that you presented to us, so I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, sure. I wasn't sure I was going to make it back in time. It was for senior night of the girls' tennis right on the other side of campus here. I just made it just in time and saw her get her congratulations. So I kind of passed on my thoughts earlier today to Joe and John, and thanks for all the work you put into this. I know there are a lot of pieces, and you've definitely listened to the board from our study session and meeting some of those goals we had of making sure that we're out of the red, but also staying in the positive and growth at our Oakmont and Roseville high school sites. So I'm happy with the way things are going, and I know we got some work still ahead, but just thank you for all your efforts collaboratively, as a team, and I think the board as well, because we've all weighed in at different aspects. So, thanks.
All right, thank you. I'll just add that I think it looks really good. I mean, when we first started this conversation, it felt a little overwhelming. How are we going to do this? But I do think it's coming along really well. I've talked to a couple principals about it. They both seemed very positive as well. My one thing that I would probably be interested in at least discussing or changing slightly is the proposed grandfathering. And I wonder what impact it would have. So it's more of a numbers question, Joe, but I would be concerned if, let's say, I'm going to use Tiffany, our one grandparent on the dais. Let's say hypothetically you have a 9th grader, but you also have a 5th grader, and your 9th grader now is a senior. I would want your incoming freshman to be able to stay at that school as their older sibling, or at least have a priority to transfer, if that's a thing that we do. So I'm wondering if the grandfathering could be extended so that if your sibling is at that school, you get to go to that school. Does that make sense? So that a parent isn't hypothetically driving 2 kids to 2 separate schools. So I don't know how many families that would be, if that would be such a high number that then we're, putting schools in the orange or the red, but it would just be something I'd want to talk about as we get closer.
Yep.
Or if we could look at what, what those numbers might look like, or people's thoughts on that. But other than that, I like what we've done so far. Yes.
So on the last comment you made, I think that could be perhaps tied to the transfer criteria. And maybe if it's red, it's a no, but if it's a orange, it's a maybe, and if it's a gray, it's a yes, or something like that. So I think, again, predictability, and what I like about the grandfathering is it acknowledges the need for transition, but it also acknowledges the needs for finality at some point. So I just think that whatever we do, the clearer we can make it,
Right.
so that there's no misunderstandings. And then I would like to just offer an alternative viewpoint on that one little section that we pointed out here, that John pointed out, that corner section, Misty Wood. I would argue that I know people who live in Misty Wood, that they are much more like the areas to the north and south of them than they are to the west, because the west is Sun City, so it's a completely different community. It really is something that we should consider as we consider whether we're going to do it or not. They are significantly different communities. And while I'm sympathetic to the middle schools, elementary school districts change their boundaries too, and we cannot be dependent on making our decisions on what they do in optimizing our learning environments and our attendance. So I think it's a great thing to consider in the balance of things, and I'm more than willing to have that conversation. But I think we need to realize that as they have these discussions now, and they're going to have these discussions maybe 5 years from now, we could make decisions that end up being nullified very quickly, and we're still at a disadvantage with our schools. And then I have a daughter who went to school with you. Sydney and Peyton went to school together. But my daughter had the complete opposite experience. She was one of only 3 kids from her school that decided to go to Oakmont. Everyone else went to West Park. And she had just as good of an experience. So I think a lot of it is dependent on the individual kids and the expectations and the families and things like that. So I think all of that comes into effect, but one of our core obligations is to make sure that we provide the best learning environment to the most kids most often, and that the school district needs are a priority along with our family's needs. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And I think that communication piece, Tony, would be huge as far as, identifying those areas that we're looking at changing, the area between Vineyard and Baseline, the Mistywood area and, you know, making sure they're getting a postcard or a letter or a knock on the door, you know, something so that they're really made aware that, like, we're looking at it. Come to the meeting if you know, if you want to share or email us, because it is hard to gauge even how many families we're talking about, or how many students that is, especially in that blue stripe. I just call it the vineyard baseline stripe. Like how many people in there have high school students? I don't know
Yeah,
what
well,
that number is.
so in our plan with that, because the reality is when this takes shape, we're talking about a community that doesn't exist with us yet. You're talking about fifth graders, fourth graders, you know, kids, some middle school, starting middle school kids right now. So we would have to actually work with our feeders to access, or you just send one to everybody in the
sure.
community, because current high school kids won't care.
Right.
So our current parents, this doesn't impact them. They're automatically at their schools that they've chosen to go to. So that's what we'll have to work through. We've been brainstorming a little bit, because it's really the non-RJUHSD families who this impacts. And so we'll work to see what information we can. Do we just go out to Mistywood, send something out to the entire community, like an election flyer or something like that, to try to really reach out to those people who aren't connected to us yet. And so, because it'll impact those who probably aren't following along with anything we're doing at this point in time. So,
No,
but yeah,
that
we have some
makes
plans
sense.
for that, so most,
Can I
for sure.
add another comment, just because we keep seeing, what I'm proposing is that we don't change Mistywood, that we keep Mistywood in Wood Creek High School. And I would just, I've actually know many of these families for 25 years now, and they're very connected to Wood Creek. Sun City is quite a ways over from them, and they go to school, they go to Quail Glen Elementary School, and then they go to Silverado Middle School. So it is very connected to the Wood Creek High School community, that Mistywood community is. And I agree that we can't be beholden to the junior high boundaries. Nevertheless, Silverado, I don't think Dry Creek is really, they're not moving around like Roseville City School District. So Silverado, the chances of them staying pretty set, I think, are pretty good. So that would be my comment on Mistywood.
Yeah, we'll bring scenarios of both. That way you guys can see what it looks like in terms of numbers and mapping, and then the will of the board at that point will be A or B.
All right, that sounds good. So do we want then to bring this back in May? Is that what you're?
We could bring it back in May. I know we also talked about the next April board meeting if we have it, but,
I think that there's a question about
Yeah,
the
so
April.
if we don't do the 28th, then it would be the first one in May.
Yeah.
And so we can figure that out here in the next few days.
Okay,
the only benefit is if we have an April, I know we've got a lot in May as far as budget and LCAP and stuff, but also we need to get it out to the community, and so we can work on that internally and come up with a plan. I just want to thank all the board for all your collaboration and throughout this process, and we still got ways to go, but I think we're doing pretty good. And I just wanted to actually commend John and thank for all his collaboration through this. It's funny how much the superintendent has been involved in this as far as driving to these areas and seeing where the actual families would be and be like, oh, this is quite a drive, you know. So your superintendent's done a lot of effort, and him and I have we've sliced and diced this up 100 different ways to really see if we can figure out what's the best for the district and for the families. So, and just thank you all for the board for your work on this.
all right, well, thank you. It's exciting that we're getting moving on. I know, I mean, speaking for Pete, when we were first elected in 2020, we were told, like, this has got to happen right away. You know, we've been waiting to do this. And so it's taken a while, but honestly, I feel like it's for the best that it's taken a while, because it's given us time for West Park to shake out a bit and see where all of it was going to land. And if we'd had made decisions 4 years ago, they would have been wrong. And so it's kind of good that it's taken some time, and we've been able to be very thoughtful about it. And so I'm feeling good about it. And probably, I would choose May, only because there's an awards night happening for my son. It may get rescheduled. Never mind. We will find out when we're going to talk about this next, either the last April meeting or the first meeting in May. Any other
And-
thought?
And just real quick, one of the things that's kind of helped this process, just because they're here, is Dr. Dobson, but even more importantly, Judy Fisher out there, who sees the inbox get filled every day with passionate and enthusiastic parents begging and pleading their cases. And so I think you guys, most of you know this, but I mean, our transfers are 50% of what they were just a couple years ago. And so that's the work of Mel and her team over there. But like I said, Judy's the one who has to be the face in the inbox and the phone calls of many of those people. So that's a reason why this is a little bit simpler than it could have been. Yeah, so that's a big part of it, but
Sure.
it's made it a little bit easier.
Well,
So
we appreciate you guys very much.
Heidi, just two things.
Yes.
One, 4 to 6 years is very fast in government, so,
Right.
we're not that far behind. And then, this is a good breaking point. I'm going to ditch now,
Okay,
because it'll give me a few more minutes to pack,
okay.
since I'm jumping on a plane in a couple hours. But thanks, I'll see you at whatever meeting we have next.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Very good. Well, moving on then to what we would normally have done first, are reports and communications, starting with our board expectations. Ooh, I didn't ask anyone to read them tonight, so I will just read these out real quick. Our Roseville Joint Union High School District board expectations are to prepare all students for life, college, and career, high-quality academic opportunities for all students, support student academic success. Next is engage in partnership with families and the community. The school is a welcoming, safe environment that serves as the center of student learning, activities, athletics, and performing arts. Promote a sense of community in our schools and the surrounding areas. And lastly, utilize effective governance and business practices, remain open, transparent, and accountable to the community, serve as an employer of choice with the highest quality teachers and staff. All right, we will move on to our board reports, and I'll start with Trustee Schutz if you'd like, and then we'll work our way down the line.
Well, I know we had a spring break in there, so hopefully I've had a nice chance to get away or just recharge for the home stretch. I know we got a lot of activities back coming ahead. I know by our calendars probably of all the things going on, but I did get an opportunity to make it out to Antelope for Unified Sports baseball. That was perfect weather, right? So fun. All the collaboration between all the students was awesome. And then Oakmont mixed it up this year, had a showcase instead of as their open house, and I really enjoyed the format. It was so fun. It was a carnival type atmosphere. Teachers were, all the teachers I talked to loved it, being out in the quad or the hallways, and the displays from the robotics in the library and all the things. It made it, and the turnout was great, right? So hopefully, that could be a model, moving forward. I know we're experimenting a bit, but great event. Kudos to everyone who put that on at the site. But I think those are the two main things I did.
All right, I have a couple of comments. I was able to sit down with Dr. Caros and Amy Black to have them walk me through the process of choosing a new health curriculum. So I really appreciated that, and it was a very thorough process that they went through, and I may comment more on that later, but that was a nice visit. And then my daughter Julianne and I attended the Antelope production of Newsies, so I'm ready to seize the day. I can't stop thinking about those songs. They just go through your mind and never leave. But it was a great cast of students. Their sets were amazing, and their costuming was so good, and so it was just a great job all around. It was fun to be out there on that campus. I just wanted to make a comment that I know coming up on our consent agenda, there's a sewing techniques class that's on there, and I'm so excited about that at Oakmont. I'm so happy to see that course being offered. I think it's really going to be beneficial to our students there. So I just wanted to express that. Thank our Student Services Department the past couple of weeks, not only with all that you have done with the boundaries, but there's been a couple of incidents that have come up. So thank you for handling that so professionally and the communication with our families. I really appreciate that. And then just wanted to extend congratulations to, I think it was 34, if I counted right, individuals that will, after tonight, be designated as permanent certificated staff. Those are my comments.
All
And the
right.
sewing was very popular.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right? Tons of, it's definitely a life skill, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're all wearing clothes, so it's, something that affects all of us.
All right. Well, I had 2 great visits with 2 of our site principals at Granite Bay, and then just today at Wood Creek High. And we didn't even end up walking around. We just were talking and going through all the different, successes at each site and, things that are coming up in education. So it was really informative and helpful. Also talked about some of the kind of safety things that have come up and just how everything's been handled really well, pivoting schedules and campus security doing a great job. So that was very nice to hear. Marla and I participated in a 5K run. We were so fast. No, we walked. We walked the Placer Youth Commission 5K, which was at Maidu a couple weekends ago, where our students are working on an anti-vaping campaign. And so they spread awareness about the dangers of vaping and smoking. And the kids just did a great job putting on that event. They really did excellent. And then I was asked to give opening comments at the John Adams Academy 5K run, and it was pouring rain, and they also did an amazing job taking an event that's normally completely outdoors with vendors and booths, and they moved it all inside, and people ran through the rain and had a great time. So kudos to all of our schools for putting on great events and pivoting when there's small crisis happening. And I'll be at Roseville High next Tuesday. I got 2 pictures this week, one of the pool being filled with water and one with the pool completely full of water. So we're very excited about the swimming happening at Roseville High very soon. All right, that's it.
I was also excited to see sewing. I took sewing in middle school and I got a C+, and I never looked at it again. And now my kids look at my husband when they have needs, so which is really sad. So I'm thrilled that some life skills can happen. But I wanted to, Tiffany alluded to it, I wanted to thank our law enforcement and our staff and our teachers for handling the incidents that have happened over the last few weeks, and also in our greater community. I'm grateful that even if a threat could be a hoax, that we still take it very seriously. And on a more personal note, since I had a student at Granite Bay High School, and a number of parents afterwards said they were just so appreciative of how thorough the first responders had been, and they just had nothing but just good feelings about a difficult situation. And I was so confident that I was not texting my daughter at all, because I just knew she was fine. And then she came home and gave me a really hard time for not being concerned about her. But that's how good I felt about just knowing that they were being taken care of. So that's it.
All right. And our student board rep.
So recently at Oakmont, we had our lip sync. We also had 4 robotics members who went to Iowa, which I heard was a really cool experience. We chose our representative for this year's Boys and Girls State, which is going to be Fade Kasim. Our ASB and class officers were elected for next year. Like Trustee Schutz mentioned, we had our Viking Showcase night. And baseball had a really successful fundraiser over this past weekend and raised a couple $1,000s. Upcoming this week, we have our prom rally and dance. Spring sports are going well, just trying to see where people end up. We have signing day coming up for athletes who are competing in college. This week we have CASP testing, so hopefully all of our juniors do well on that. And we're just preparing for AP and IB exams. And another sad thing that we have to share, it is with heavy hearts that Oakmont is going to share the passing of our girls flag football and boys golf coach, Phil Holmes. We will continue to support our staff and students who are being impacted by this loss and continue the legacy of Coach Holmes' work.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have our superintendent's report. Any communications received?
Yeah, just kind of just the same as everyone's been talking about, just what our staff has done with some of these events going on this week. And then obviously our hearts out to Oakmont High School and a very beloved coach, and to Mark out there and his team and the way they've handled it, the various staff and student impacts. They've handled it like champs and the best way you can do it. And then on a positive side with Oakmont, it was nice just to go visit briefly their programming meeting for their new building. And so it's just one more step in it to becoming a reality. And to see the excitement, I was there with the Health Academy team talking about some of the new labs and the new things they could do in there. So that's exciting to see that actually come into reality and making it one step closer in the process.
All right, excellent. 5.5, committee reports. I don't believe any committees met, so on to RSEA report. Okay, no report tonight. All right, now it is the time for public comment for items not on the agenda. I don't have any cards that have been turned in, so no one for public comment tonight. All right. Next is our consent agenda. We did remove item 7.9. So anything else, questions or comments on consent?
I'm not sure the correct way to do this, but on 7.18, a couple of those class titles, DE ADVM 2A and DE ADM J50, I had asked Dr. Caros what we could do to make those titles more clear, and she offered a dual naming convention to provide student-friendly title and provide the Sierra College catalog title, so both of those were met. So I would just make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with those changes.
Could I had emailed, we have 7.9, we did pull from the agenda. We got today word that the contractor was not going to adhere to the pricing that they initially agreed to, so we're going to look elsewhere and see what other options we have for our data security. So staff would request that you pull 7.9 from the consent agenda.
Yep, we pulled 7.9 before we adopted the agenda.
Okay, can I pull it a third time? No, I'm just kidding.
Sure. 7.9 has been pulled from the agenda. Or dropped, sorry, we dropped it.
Can I add some comments to what Trustee Coleman just said?
Yes.
So in previous Board of Education meetings, we were directed by Board of Trustees to ensure that any of our courses, particularly our dual enrollment courses, adhere to the same naming as what's seen in our Sierra College course catalog, because of course they're dually enrolled by RJUHSD and Sierra College. Trustee Coleman had emailed me, as she had said, asking for a much more balance so that the naming of our dual enrollment courses can be easily accessible by our students and families. So really what Education Services is looking for is clear direction on whether you would like to give us the freedom to do just that balance of accessible naming so that our students and families can understand those dual enrollment courses, along with a balance of what Sierra College has written in their course catalog, or whatever it is that the Board of Education would like to direct staff. We'd be happy to move forward with your direction, but we just need some clear guidance.
Yeah, may I make a suggestion? And I think I was the one maybe months ago that asked to make sure that Sierra College course was in the title somewhere. I think the Deaf Studies course title was perfect. It reads Dual Enrollment, Introduction to Deaf Studies, and then parentheses, the DFST 0010. So that was perfect, and I appreciate Tiffany bringing up the others that weren't as perfect. But is that reasonable?
Yeah, so it sounds like it's the CTE courses, the dually enrolled CTE courses that the Board of Trustees is wanting us to move forward with a dual effort of naming those courses as best as we can in adherence to Sierra College course catalog, but also making sure that it is accessible by our students and families. Is that correct?
Actually, I'll walk it back. I assume dual enrollment introduction to deaf studies was your title, but it's probably Sierra College's title.
It is, yeah.
And my opinion is, I don't care, as long as it's clear. I was only wanting that parentheses portion to just give the course label, or, you know what I'm saying, that's how you look it up. If there's a different suggestion, I don't want to control your complete course title. I just think students need to be able to look up what the Sierra College class is. Does that make sense?
So I want to make sure I'm clear.
Okay.
So we are going to move forward with naming our courses and according to the dual enrollment courses as shown and seen in the Sierra College course catalog, with some freedom to work through the naming so that our parents and students can access those courses. Is that correct?
That sounds correct to me.
And for instance, on the DE ADVM 2A, what would the Sierra College, do they not have a course title beyond that? Or what is their course title?
They do.
Okay.
They have a long title that we
okay.
don't include in what you see with the CTE course proposal form. They have a long title. And
Okay.
Amy, what's the exact long title? Hey, Amy, can you come on up? Thank you.
So it's a little more complex. So with CTE courses, we were working with our namings last year to make sure that the pathway was clear for families. So it would be like, for example, Media 1, Media 2, Media 3, even though the DE course may have a different title, like if, I can't even think of one. It would have something that wouldn't necessarily match the pathway name. That might be a little bit confusing for our families. The mechatronics course is one of those. So we're trying to balance making sure that the pathway naming is accessible to students and family, but then also hearing to board direction to make sure that we're naming it exactly like Sierra College. But it sounds like I'm hearing there's a little bit of flexibility as long as we have the short title
Yes.
that's named in the long title, that maybe we can have some creativity to make sure that we're also, meeting the ask from Trustee Coleman of making sure that it's clear. I'm trying to think of can you say the name of, so for example, our construction tech, our DE, it's called Building and Environments. So that it's a very odd name that our families may not realize, that's a construction tech course. So I'm hearing that there's some flexibility as long as we have the
100%,
short title.
yes.
Okay.
And I'm assuming there's a DE in the front of it, and
We
then
can
it'll
put a
say
DE, yes.
construction 2, and then you got the parentheses of what the actual course is from
Yes.
Sierra College. That, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we got a thumbs up. All right, so I heard, I think, a motion, right?
Correct. A motion to adopt the
I'll
consent
second.
agenda with those changes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Schutz,
Aye.
Yes.
Trustee Coleman, Hall, yes. Fran
Yes.
and Peyton, yes. And then I know that Brad Basham has some comments that he would like to make now that we have approved consent.
Now that we've approved consent item 7.11, which is the employment of several dozen new employees for next year, I do want to point out that in our audience, we have a special guest I'd like to recognize. This is Eric Jurgensen. And Eric, please stand up. So Eric is currently in the Western Placer Unified School District serving as an assistant principal at 12 Bridges High School, but He is going to join us next year at West Park High School as an assistant principal. So I want to take this opportunity to recognize and welcome Eric to our district.
All right, welcome aboard. Good to meet you. We'll all meet you officially another time, but thank you for coming. You're his family? Parents. Good to meet you. Thank you for coming. All right, we are moving on. I have to scroll for quite a bit to get down to item 8. So bear with me a second. We had a lot on there. Okay, here we go. We are going to be opening a public hearing for our CSEA contract proposals to the district. And do you have anything that you want to say beforehand? Or do I open the public hearing right now?
Not quite.
Not quite.
So,
Okay, I'm so
yes.
excited.
So this is an opportunity to sunshine both CSEA's proposals as well as the next item will be the district's proposals
Okay.
in terms of what we plan to negotiate or talk about when we sit down for negotiations. So 8.1 is the sunshining of CSEA as proposals, and what they've proposed in there is to talk about salary and benefits as well as some additional language to Article 33 around organizational security and the duration of the contract, looking to have a new 3-year contract. Want to introduce a new article around technology, specifically the use of AI, as well as potentially adding a couple of additional days to some of these classified employees' work year. So at this point, it would be
Okay.
appropriate to
All right.
open it up for public comment.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak for this public hearing on the CSA contract? Okay, seeing none, then we just need a motion to adjourn. Well, I think we have to have a motion to close the public hearing. So I heard a motion.
I'll second.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And then do I need to take 8.2 separately, Brad, or was that all together?
8.2 is separate.
Okay,
So with 8.2, the district is sunshining the following, which is wages and benefits, as well as proposing some language to clarify how and when an employee would be receive holiday pay, as well as changing some language around leave of absence for industrial accidents and illness, specifically the application of extended sick leave, and then a new language in the area of safety around uniforms for our nutrition services folks, and some changes to some language around a probationary evaluation timeline for our probationary classified employees.
all right, sounds good. So opening our public hearing for comment on item 8.2. Is there anyone that would like to speak on that? All right, seeing none, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close. Second.
Okay, all right, first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? No? All right. Public hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Basham.
Thank you.
And we will move on to item 9.1. Our first action item of the night is Resolution 2605, requesting election services. And who is presenting on this? Mr. Becker? Okay.
Yeah, so this item is to initiate election services through Placer County for the upcoming elections in November for our open spots. I believe we'll have 2 open spots. And so this is just to initiate the process, and then Kim will continue to work with the county to make sure we're all set up and ready to go for the election season.
All right, any questions on this item? No? Okay. Just need a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2605.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote on this one. Trustee Schutz?
Aye.
Coleman?
Yes.
Hall, yes. Franz?
Yes.
And Peyton? All right, motion carries 4, 1 absent. Yep, okay. we will have an election in November then. So item 9.2, it's funny because I'm sure we've done that every election year and I don't remember seeing it until now. So item 9.2, another resolution 2607, West Park High School Geotechnical Services. This looks
Yes.
like Joe, okay.
It's me. This resolution is to authorize staff to enter an agreement on the geotechnical services. These are inspection services out at West Park for the new buildings that we're doing. And it's required to do these services in order to get state funding, matching funding. So we go through these, making sure the soil and the foundation and everything is to code and properly done. So staff recommends approval of resolution number 2607 to allow us to enter into this contract.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2607.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we will go roll call vote on this one as well. Trustee Schutz?
Aye.
Coleman?
Yes.
Hall, yes. Franz?
Yes.
And Peyton? Yes. All right, motion carries to pass resolution 2607. And we are moving on to item 9.3, our public disclosure of fiscal year 26-27 RSCA agreement.
Yes, so this item is in regards to our tentative agreement we reached with RSCA. And following the solicitation of public comment, district recommends that the board ratify the settlement agreement and authorize the execution of the certification of the collective bargaining agreement disclosures.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments on this item? Oh, we're easy tonight so far.
I
Well,
guess
as-
just maybe,
ahead.
great work, collaborative work, getting this contract from our RSCA partners and Brad going out, getting a contract, selling that, and I know leaving that behind is good for you. So anyways, thanks for all your work in doing that.
Yes,
you.
we're always very appreciative of how smooth it is, especially when we sometimes see what other districts go through. So we're very appreciative. All right. Do I hear a motion?
Sure. Motion to ratify the fiscal year 2016-17 RSCA settlement agreement and authorize the execution of certification number 2 of disclosure of collective bargaining agreement with RSCA.
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? No, all right, motion carries. And we are moving on to 9.4, public disclosure of our non-represented groups agreement. Back to Joe.
Yep, so this is the same as the prior one, but with all of our non-represented groups. It's with the same value. I forgot to mention earlier, but it's a total package value at 3.9%. And that's broken out into salaries and benefits and other areas. But we reached a consensus with our non-represented groups and asked that the board would ratify this commitment and execute the certification of the disclosure of collective bargaining agreement for all our non-represented groups.
All right, very good. I did all my same comments from the last item. And any additional comments or questions?
I'll
No?
make a motion that we ratify all of that, the commitments of the agreement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All
I'll
right,
second.
very good. All right, we have a motion and a second on item 9.4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? All right, motion carries unanimously. And we are moving on to item 9.5, certificate of need for fully qualified educators.
Yes, we're seeking board approval of the declaration of need, which is the exhibit in that particular item, in order for us to get emergency EL authorization or limited term permit or to hire teacher interns, someone on a teacher intern credential. The board must take action and approve a declaration of need that we then turn into the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Next year, we're anticipating, we may or may not use all of these, anticipating the need for 12 emergency EL authorizations, 8 limited term permits, as well as a variety of teacher intern. Most of those are our ed specialists that are going through the program at Placer County Office of Education. So staff recommends approval of the declaration of need as presented.
All right, very good. Any questions on this item?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And next is 9.6, certificated employees to teach with a variable term waiver.
Yes, staff is asking for the board to approve variable term waivers for 2 of our employees. They do not have the EL authorization. We can't use the emergency CLAD because they're still working on their credential. You have to have a credential in order to get the emergency EL authorization. These are 2 CTE teachers. So they have the industry experience and they're working on getting their credential right now. So we just need a little extra time. They're both in CTE programs. By the end of next year, they'll have their CTE credential, which will come with the EL authorization. So staff is recommending approval of a variable term waiver for Antonio Javier and Maxim Kozlov. Both are CTE teachers in the district that have done really well. They just need 1 more year, and this will allow them to do that.
Okay, very good.
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver. I'm sorry, you were going to ask if we have questions
I
or
didn't have a
comments.
question. Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And we are on to 9.7, a new job description for communications technician.
Yes, the purpose of this item is to present for board approval a new job description for the position of communications technician. This is a classified position at range 36. As the district continues to prioritize transparent communication, stakeholder engagement, and effective governance practices, there is a need for a dedicated role to support these efforts. The communications technician position is designed to strengthen alignment with our strategic initiatives as well as the LCAP goals by enhancing communication systems, supporting board governance processes, and ensuring consistency across platforms. The role also provides coordinated support to the superintendent's office and the district office, front office operations. This person will work closely with our superintendent as well as with Tony, just in terms of making sure that our communication is consistent and supporting your role and our goals.
All right, very good. Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the new job description for the communications technician.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along, 9.8, we have a new job description for district office receptionist.
Yes, in the past and currently, the reception desk has been, has had an HR person in that role. And so this position would give us some flexibility either to increase coverage at the front desk or eventually be able to eliminate the HR position from that front desk. So we're asking to approve the job description now, and then we'll make a determination as to when we would actually post that position. So specifically, this would be a classified employee rather than a confidential employee, which is what they currently are. It would be at the range 26, which is equivalent to a department secretary. And so if this position is eventually, if this job description is approved and a position is eventually filled, they would man that front desk. They would be that receptionist, that first point of contact for the district, but they'd also have some department responsibilities. Right now, we would look at assigning them to our student services department because a number of the folks that are coming in are requesting inter and intra-district transfers, or they have questions about enrollment. So it just makes sense to make that transition. Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon, but we can't make any changes until we have the job descriptions in place. So staff is recommending approval of this new job description.
Okay, that sounds good. Any questions on that one?
No, I'll make a
Alright.
motion that we approve the new job description for the district office receptionist.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, motion by Coleman, second by Schutz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next job description, we have another last and final job description, which is the district van driver.
Yes, what we have found in our transportation department is sometimes we have to transport small groups of students. Sometimes those are students with special needs that are maybe having to be picked up at different areas and brought in. We don't need to have a full bus in order to do that. So the district van driver position gives us a little bit more flexibility to be able to transport smaller groups of students in a more economical way. And so staff is recommending the approval of the job description for district van driver.
All right.
And this is another CSEA classified unit?
Yes, it is.
Member, okay. With any other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the the job description for van driver.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Schutz, second by Coleman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries. And now we are on to some core textbook second readings. All right.
Alrighty. Tonight I'm bringing forward textbooks for board review and action item for approval for our new DE Introduction Deaf Studies course, as well as our 4 ELD courses, course 1, 2, 3, and ELD seminar. So they've been on display for the required 30 days, waiting to elicit feedback from the public. We have none. We're bringing forward, based on our team recommendation for action, approval of those textbooks.
Any questions on this item?
I'll make a motion that we
Okay.
adopt the DE and ELD core textbooks.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second on those textbooks. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, textbooks approved.
Thank you.
And then we have you up next. So let me scroll. Oh, wait a minute. One moment. For the informational items.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So first readings.
First reading, so again, opening up public viewing for the next 30 days for 2 courses. The first one is our AP US History. College Board requires that all of our courses utilize core textbooks that are no older than 10 years old, and that is not currently the case for our AP US History. So our team met and came together and identified the book that they're bringing forward for board consideration. So we're collecting public feedback in the next 30 days, and then I'll bring it back for action, most likely at the end of May. The second course, I want to give a little bit more background. So our health course, really critical course. It is a graduation requirement for all of our students. Is a 9th grade course. And over the past few years, we've had our health teachers come together as a pilot team, do an extensive review of multiple publishers, following the board-aligned process of our textbook adoption. We reviewed it. The teachers selected 2 programs that they piloted this school year, and we elicited quite a bit of feedback from teachers, from parents, and from students in order to identify the book that we're bringing forward tonight. I think it's important for the board to also know that part of our criteria was really essential that the books aligned with our California state health standards, as well as the California Healthy Youth Act, which are both things that have been updated since our previous adoption. And then those were non-negotiables, as well as making sure that the programs had instructional quality, student engagement, equitable access, or access for all of our students, and teacher support. And so we had a unanimous vote from our pilot teachers from all of our comprehensive high schools to bring forward GW, our comprehensive health skills for high schoolers. So this is the book that I'm bringing forward for recommendation and for public comment in the next 30 days. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a couple comments and maybe a
Okay.
question. First of all, just again, thank you so much for both your time and Dr. Carroz's time to walk me through your really extensive curriculum process, not just for this curriculum, but for all curriculums. But it was you pulled in so many voices over the last year and probably a little bit before that, but that looked like where it started in earnest. So I just really appreciate that. It gave me a lot of confidence, and to hear that it was unanimously approved by your health leads as well. I have a copy that I get to look at, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
And I think this is I think it's a vital course as well. This is something that every single one of us works with the topics that the students cover in this health courses. They're really important for our life knowledge and moving forward in productive ways. So I'm really appreciative of this course. As you talked through with all these different input that you sought, what were some of the big questions that they brought to you? Just curious, I know sometimes with a health curriculum, sometimes maybe the sex ed part is a little bit of something that gets people coming with big questions, or what big questions did you have or feedback did you have?
Yeah, so we really didn't have specific feedback around that. From we had a couple parent feedbacks, just, they supported the materials that were piloted. That's a question for our health teachers. They want to ensure that it is unbiased, it's medically sound, that it's covering the curriculum and it's developmentally appropriate. And so that was something that was really a priority for them in both the materials that they reviewed, and by far they identified GW as really a comprehensive text that they felt met that criteria, not only with the non-negotiables of the standards, but also making sure that it was engaging for the kids, relevant, developmentally appropriate. And I think that's what you see in the unanimous vote.
Okay. Seeing if I had any other, no, thank you. I'm looking forward to looking through the textbook myself and feel confident that it'll be a great resource. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it safe for me to assume that the parent feedback was from the students that were in the pilot?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, and so what was a little bit unique about the health is that we ensured that both fall and spring, so we had a full year of feedback from parents and from students to ensure that we got as much feedback as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you
Okay,
so
thank you.
much. And there's no action to take on that one tonight. It was just information. I did not announce it very
I
well.
make a motion that we thank Amy for all
Right.
of her hard work.
Yes, I
Second.
second. We thank you very much. I know it's a lot of time. All right, moving on. We are getting through this a lot faster than I anticipated. So staff comments. Any staff comments tonight? No. Okay. Then our Horizon report, it sounds like we have a pending meeting on April 28th, which is, we'll know in the next day or two if that one is happening or not. And then May 12th and May 26th are our ones coming up after that.
Can I just ask a question? For some reason on my calendar, I had July 28th as the date. Did I just put it on wrong? Is the 21st the right date? Yes. Okay, that was my bad then. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we just need a motion to adjourn. All right.
I'll second.
Excellent motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Meeting.
It is the 28th. Okay, so the 21st is incorrect on that. Oh, thank
our
you.
sheet.
Okay, all right. Then okay.
And that is
Okay.
on what day? July 28th?
It's July 28th, not the 21st.